Hello, you're listening to Season 3 of the Hypotheticals podcast. I'm Adriano.
And I'm Andy, and this week's episode is sponsored by Billy Bob's Discount Eye Surgery. 99% of the time blinds you 0% of the time. Adriano, I have been wondering, what about society would change if all machines did the exact opposite of what they were supposed to do for, let's say, about 1% of the time?
So you mean a slight improvement over how computers currently work, Andy?
Who's in the room with you, Adriano? Is that your long-lost sibling?
It's my evil twin. Get out of here, Badriano. That's not funny. Alright, he's gone. We can talk seriously now. Alright, what if every device did the exact opposite of its intended function, like 1% of the time?
Yeah, so 99% of the time, you're cooking with charcoal.
Mm-hmm.
But 1% of the time, the charcoal is cooking with you.
Ah, yeah. I can see it. See, the thing is, phrasing it like that, 1% doesn't sound like a lot, but actually, depending on the machine, it really can be.
Yeah.
And I think the crux of the matter is this predictable or not? Is it an average of 1%? Or is it exactly 1 minute out of every 100, but you don't know when it's coming? Or is it just, on a predictable loop?
I think it's random. It's like you're spinning a roulette wheel, and each time you use an appliance, and whatever happens is complete. You don't know what's going to happen every time. Okay,
because if it was predictable, I was thinking for some things it might not actually be too bad. Like I've got an image of like a motorway, right? Just cars zipping along more or less in unison, and then they all just stop and kick into reverse. But all at the same time, just for a little bit, and then nope, vroom vroom, back we go the other way. It's only a problem if people have big differences in like how fast they accelerate and decelerate.
Yeah, you're driving along, you're like, oh, we're starting to go backwards, and you pull a lever and the steering wheel flips around, the whole like cockpit revolves, and suddenly you're driving backwards.
You'd keep doing exactly the same thing, but the steering wheel and everything would be performing exactly the opposite function. So you just, be alright. On a straight motorway, you'd be okay.
Yeah, as long as you're not going down like some country lanes, and suddenly you're going back around the hairpin corner that you just went round.
Yes, that's true.
While trying to steer the opposite way, yeah, no.
Okay, there might be some problems. I guess in that circumstance, then your best bet would be to just stop. Like, presumably, there'd be a lot of caution involved in driving. Anything similarly dangerous. Every time you lift something up with a crane in a building site, you make sure there's nothing too expensive underneath, just in case. You're just ready for it.
I quite like the idea of some of these things. They do the opposite, but it still somehow could be seen as useful. So, for example, with transport, like a plane, you're like flying through the air. But like sometimes when you go to take off, instead you just tunnel down into the ground.
You're right, super helpful.
You tunnel your way to your destination instead.
I see. But you're only tunneling for 1% of the trip.
Well, it depends whether it's like 1% of the time when you turn the plane on, like, when you turn the keys in the plane to turn it on, whether it's like that counts as one go.
I like this a lot.
You see what I mean?
I was picturing like out of 100 minutes of continuous use, 1 minute it will just kick into reverse, whatever the machine is. Mm-hmm. You're saying turning it on, you toss that die, and then whatever mode it switches on in, it stays in.
Yeah, and you don't necessarily know what that mode is until you're launching yourself down the runway. It's like, oh, we're tunneling today. Okay, off we go, guys.
That's fine, because you've just got a big drill built on the front of there. Like, you just have to make things dual purpose, basically. It's a plane or it's a kind of a mole man train.
You turn the windscreen wipers on, which you'd have to install. I don't think planes have windscreen wipers.
I don't know. I guess the windows are maybe not super important in planes, but they must still get wet.
I think the speed of the plane, the rain just runs off.
Oh, you're probably right there. Okay, well, they need... unless they are tunneling at speed. I don't know how good the technology is going to be.
The technology of something you didn't design. It just happens to be doing the opposite.
Well, once you figure out that this machine plague has taken hold, then everything just becomes a bit more expensive, basically. Because, okay, you want to build a plane, you're going to have to double that up with like a tunnel digger. I don't even have a term for this. But, your boat, it's also going to have to be a submarine, I guess.
Yeah.
Your wheelchair, I don't know what the opposite of a wheelchair is.
I don't know, some sort of mech suit? I'm not sure.
I guess, yeah, it gets intriguing. What counts as opposite is definitely a major question, right?
It's open to interpretation, certainly. Which is where a lot of the fun lies, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Because arguably, a plane just cutting out is the opposite of its intended function. Like the turbines are meant to spin, the engine is meant to, and then they just stop. And that would arguably be manageable, 1 hour out of every 100, well, maybe not an hour, and 1 minute out of every 100. You could do that. Like, if you're in the air and it's just like, ladies and gentlemen, if you could just return to your seats. The engines have indeed cut out. But, we're currently cruising at an altitude of whatever, so we predict that our dive will take us no lower than whatever, and we'll have you back in the air just as soon as the plane starts working again. Provided it doesn't happen during takeoff or landing, then you're okay.
That would be the big issue.
But I think planes will be a lot safer in this mole device scenario, and all you'd really have to do is just those screens in the airports that show like estimated arrival times and all the rest of it, websites and that. You just got to widen that, put in an extra column, because now there's going to be 2 estimated arrival times based on whether it's flying or tunneling, because you can't pretend the tunneling is going to be as fast. So you just accept, like, okay, like sometimes there's bad weather, sometimes your plane burrows into the ground. You know that. It's a risk.
And presumably you're looking at the screen, and 1 out of every 100 times, the departure screen is actually the arrival screen, and the arrival screen is the departure screen. This makes no sense at all.
It's true, yeah. Unless it's just much more convenient than that, and all that happens is that all the individual little, pixel-making light-up jobbies inside the screen, they just reverse what colour they're doing.
Yeah,
it just shows up with like terrible color design, but it conveys the same information.
Well, speaking of screens, I was thinking of televisions. Obviously, the standard setup is you sit down to watch television as it's broadcast throughout the nation. But what if 1% of the time you sit down and it's a bit like the TV show Gogglebox? Instead of watching television, your living room is broadcast to a channel.
Mm-hmm. It's just you in your underwear eating nachos.
Yeah, and you've just got to wait, like, your slot until you're able to, actually watch television again. So I guess you have to make sure that you're dressed every time, unless it's a kind of a chat roulette situation, in which case, whatever you feel like.
Then it's just kind of a free-for-all, I guess. It depends what you're going for that day. Well, look, honestly, thinking about getting dressed, not the other thing, I applaud that, actually, just as a social revolution. Taking more care, being better prepared. Like particularly this year, I don't think I'm alone in having gotten into a bit of a bad habit of essentially rolling out of bed directly into work, because I can, right?
Yep.
A lot of people are doing this, I think. And I don't do it every day because I don't like it. I prefer getting up earlier. No, let me rephrase that. I never prefer getting up earlier. What I prefer is just having some time between waking up. Because I don't feel good waking up, Andy. Just a personal confession of mine. I don't feel good.
Well, it's pretty controversial, Adriano. A lot of our listeners enjoy waking up in the morning. The earlier the better.
I hate them already. I can't stand it. I'm sorry. Morning people, I don't know how you do it. I'm bearing my soul here, but I woke up from a nightmare last night where I was... There was a giant black monolith on like a lunar hellscape.
Was it in Utah?
It might have been. It was that level of harrowing. And I woke up gasping and whimpering and managed to get back to sleep eventually. But then when I woke up again, because my alarm had gone off, I felt quite similar.
Oh.
And that is not an uncommon experience. So I don't like waking up filled with these, whatever chemical poisons sleep has filled me with, just barely knowing what dimension I'm in, and then having to turn on my laptop and be in a Zoom meeting immediately because it's the morning catch-up. I don't like that. But I'm coddled, I'm allowed to do that because my webcam can just be off and my mic's muted and nobody knows what kind of state I'm in. I'm feral on this end, but as far as they're concerned, I'm very professional. I'm doing my job.
You've built a giant black monolith in the corner out of mashed potato and food colouring, and you're just worshipping it while going, yes, Barbara, that sounds like a good idea for the release.
Yeah, I'm daubing a blackened mashed potato on my own body in runic designs of my own creation. The laptop sits atop the pile, as befits its stature, but they're none the wiser. And, you know, part of me is very grateful for this. It's one of the few good things to come out of this pandemic. We are spared the commute and, you know, having to sit near our colleagues and just, oh, God. But on the other hand, on the days when I actually get up early enough to go take a shower, get dressed before work, and just kind of, you know, get into the right mind space, I feel better about it. I think I tend to feel better for the rest of the day. I don't know. I'm unwilling to admit that as yet because I'm not done rolling out of bed straight into work yet. We'll see how I, you know, wrestle with my own subconscious about that. What was the initial point I was trying to make?
I have no idea.
Sitting down for television. You should think about that. We live in a world of screens that you just, you know, you got 2 minutes between thing and thing. All right, time to open your phone and start scrolling a feed of some kind. You know, the stuff is there all the time. But if every appliance involves a camera these days, why shouldn't your TV? And why shouldn't you be terrified that, you know, just know that at any moment the whole world could be looking over your shoulder, or worse, looking directly at you? You cannot afford to not be looking presentable the whole time. We are not judged as harshly as we were some time ago, you know, about how we dress and all the rest of it. And I think, in a way, that has weakened our moral fibre.
You've got to be ready and willing to stand up and recite the national anthem on cue as soon as that little light on your television goes red instead of green.
Absolutely.
But speaking of kind of household items and appliances, there's a few things which would have issues. So I'm thinking of washing machines.
Yeah, that's good.
So you put your clothes in, and just, you know, 1 out of every 100 times they come up absolutely caked in filth. Just like, you know, like the sludge that collects in drains, that stinks, and like if your water supply's a bit dodgy, sometimes you'll get a whiff of it. It's that, but just all over your clothes. So like 1 in every 100 washes, you're just ruining your clothes.
You get 99 washes and 1 in filthening.
But you don't know which one that's going to be.
No, you don't.
It could be number 1. It's like, I bought all these new clothes. Oh, I got some ketchup on it. Do I risk washing it? Because it could just be, this is going in the bin now.
Once again, I think this would be great for our moral fibre. We set too much stock in, you know, expensive clothes and all the rest of it. No, I say. Buy from charity shops. Be less attached to material things. Your clothes are irredeemably filthy. I mean, we're still assuming that this is the kind of filth that another wash wouldn't fix.
Yes.
Okay, because you'd have to be very unlucky to have 2 bad ones in a row. So, you know, maybe you put it on again.
Yeah, I guess the thing is, if it's doing exactly the opposite, it would make it equally dirty as 1 wash would make it clean.
Right.
So it wouldn't be disgustingly filthy. It would just take 2 washes to make it clean.
Yeah, which is actually all right, isn't it?
That's not bad.
I think you've got more of a problem with a fridge. I don't know if this is on your list of homeware appliances.
I've got a freezer, yeah.
Yeah. Every so often it just cooks your food.
Yeah, it just boils your food randomly every 100 days.
If you time it right, well, you couldn't, I guess, if it's unpredictable. Yeah, then you've got a problem. If it's predictable, you just know when your barbecue's going to be.
Yeah, you wake up in the morning and you smell the aroma. It's like, oh, I guess it's a full cooked breakfast on the menu with whatever is in my freezer.
Guess I need to consume everything I own, everything I've been stocking up on over the next couple of days.
Actually, I think a fridge would be worse because with a freezer, right, it would go from being extremely cold to extremely hot. And so it would be pretty obvious. But with a fridge, it would go from being quite cold to quite warm.
Oh, yeah.
So you just have lots of food poisoning all the time because you'd probably never like get the food out at the point where it feels warm because like that's low odds. But it's a high chance that at some point that's been warmed up and then has cooled again.
I think it depends how cruel the genie is or whatever entity has created this scenario. Because if it's like a completely random, like it could cut into heat mode for like 30 seconds and then next time it's going to be a month, you've got no idea, then just you're screwed. No more fridges for anyone. But if it's like, because a fridge is not a thing that it's like, okay, I'm going to use the fridge. Let's see if this is a good use or bad. You know, it's continuous. So if it's a more manageable thing, like 1 day out of every 100, then you're going to find out, provided you check your fridge daily. What's gone is things like, oh, I'm only going away for the weekend, I can leave this milk in there. You know, that's throw everything out when you get back. But, yeah, if it's like going to be for a day, you just make a habit. You wake up, hopefully your bed is still behaving like a bed. Now, okay, a bed doesn't count as a machine.
Is that a machine?
No, fair enough. It's only a problem if you've got one of those, like, the mattresses that, you can push a thing and it'll, like, lift you up and put you in a, like a hospital bed. Now, this is the question. Are these machines capable of turning themselves on? Are you safe, provided it's off? Because that machine is designed to just hold a position and occasionally adjust it.
Is it just when you're clicking that button?
I guess it would have to be, wouldn't it? Like the activation, maybe you're pressing up, but it goes down. Oh no, that's actually that's fine. That's okay.
Yeah.
Unless the opposite of its function is breaking your back instead of supporting it.
I like the idea of an alarm clock which sedates you instead.
That's good.
You're not getting up at all today.
Oh no, today's your one day out of 100. Sleep, my child. That's very. But
yeah, no. If it's a regular schedule, then like. You just have to remember, like, oh, it's day 100, and you take all your frozen food and you put it in the oven.
Yes.
And anything you want to cook, you put in the freezer. And who knows what you do with the fridge stuff? Put it in the what's warm, like
the foot bath.
Yeah.
Yeah, in front of a space heater or something, maybe.
But I was thinking, like, sometimes this could be useful as a thing, like, so things which are specifically designed to break things become very useful. Because
you mean like a jackhammer?
Maybe. Or like a blender. So like, I dropped my iPhone and it's like smashed everywhere. So you get all the pieces together, you put it in a blender, and you just keep turning on the blender until it anti-blends and you have an iPhone back.
That's very good. Did you ever watch that Will It Blend YouTube channel?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Every so often they'd have a special episode where they just get like one of the bags of nondescript dust from a previous episode and just recreate whatever it is,
Out of dust.
Well, because that after they blended, like, you didn't end up with much of whatever object, right? It was a powerful blender. So as long as they collect all that dust, and then they've just got some intern in the back just running that through the blender over and over and over. 99 times out of 100, it's just blending the dust. It doesn't do anything. But one time, it'll recreate the object. Get that on film, put it in slow-mo. Looks great.
That would be awesome to look at in slow motion. Just like all the particles reassembling themselves.
They look incredible.
Yeah.
I'm now thinking about other slow-mo videos that'd be really weird. Like, like where they shoot a tomato or whatever, and you see the bullet go through in slow-mo. It's crazy. And now I'm like, what about guns?
Yeah.
That's terrible. I hadn't even thought about weapons.
Suddenly, it's 1% of the time it's fast motion. You don't even see it.
Oh god, yeah. That would just be lame. Content wouldn't be as good. God, isn't that the worst curse?
What would the opposite of a gun be?
I don't know. See, a misfire is already a thing, and you get explosive misfires, right? Like, less with modern weaponry, but like a musket blowing up and killing you.
I guess it would suck bullets out of people.
Oh, that's even better. It becomes a medical device. Yeah. Like anti-kills. Yeah.
Although, not a very good medical device, because you've just shot them 90 times before it worked.
Well, look, this is the thought I had. Would you, again, assuming that a genie or some evil deity has decreed this, could you get around the curse by lying? Like, with some kind of reverse psychology? Like, this is my, terrible inator. This device is designed to make everything bad. Oh no, it's going wrong. Everything's great now. More specific examples than that. But I was thinking about like again, this is a continuous device, so you get that unpredictability like a fridge. But life support, right? Like ventilators, dialysis machines, and so on.
Yeah.
You've got a real problem, and I assume what you need is to build redundancies into everything. So there's a second machine that detects the instant it's gonna, it flips to the opposite thing. You're like, oh, you're pumping poison into that person's bloodstream. No, disconnect that feed. I'm gonna take over, right? But then that second machine is also gonna conk out and start messing with it 1 out of every 100 hours. So then you need a third machine. Like, you need enough redundancies. I think it becomes an interesting mathematical problem for people who know these things. Trying to figure out like what the most cost efficient way is of doing it, reducing the odds never to zero, but like to a manageable level that is not.
Because with two machines, it'd be 1 in 10,000, which is for something like a life support machine, you need better than that.
Exactly.
So I think you need at least 3, because that would be 1 in a million.
Right, but then picture like the expense of 3 dialysis machines per
it's not good.
patient, and then you get to wondering, well, okay, one of these machines is only kicking in 1 out of every 10,000 hours. That's a tremendous waste. Can you hook up the second and third machines to more than one patient? And then they'll be monitoring, you know what I mean? Then you gotta factor in the odds of like, okay, what are the odds that two machines are gonna go at the same time?
Yeah.
It gets complex.
I guess a way around this, which would kind of break this scenario, is you invent machines which their job is to turn off. Their only job is to turn off a machine if it's malfunctioning. Right,
but every so often they go wrong.
Yes.
So you still have the same problem, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, medicine as a whole is an absolute nightmare in this scenario because, okay, I've got a whole list of these, like some of which are worse than others. So, like hearing aids, temporarily, hearing aids make you more deaf, which is like, you know, it's a temporary thing because like you take your hearing aid out, it's fine.
Yeah.
But like laser eye surgery, in 1% of patients, they're just blind, like for good.
Yeah.
Pacemakers become useless.
Again,
because...
you'd need redundancies. You'd have multiple devices in your chest. It'd be huge.
But like 1% of the time, they give you a heart attack. Like that is the opposite. So I mean, and like
let's be fair. A pacemaker's job is to prevent arrhythmia, I think, by just emitting like a pulse that stimulates your heart regularly.
Yeah. So surely, if it gives you a massive arrhythmia,
would it have to be massive? Like, is that the opposite?
I'd like if it's just off, that's bad enough. But it's doing the opposite, so surely that's...
Fair enough. A lot of it comes down to negating with this genie, I think.
Yeah,
I'm trying to persuade them that the device doesn't need to go as bad as they think.
Yeah. I also thought, you know the new kind of surgical robots that are coming in?
No, but I'm excited
in, like,
Japan
to hear about stuff. Them. Yeah, they'll like do, you know, surgery like with scalpels and all sorts of attachments. They're like really clever. And can be like actually much better than human doctors.
Oh yeah,
they're starting to get to that point. But now, in one of every 100 surgeries, they make an absolute mess.
Oh yeah, they just put you ready.
Carve you up. Yeah, it's not pretty. You've mentioned kidney dialysis already. I quite like the idea of MRI machines, magnetic resonance imaging, which basically take your magnetic field and use it to produce images. So I guess the opposite of that is they make you magnetic.
It's just a superhero factory. It turns out Magneto's 1% of the time.
But it's terrible because then you can't have another MRI because you're so magnetic.
Is that the worst aspect of creating Magnetos on an industrial scale?
I mean, what, like a Magneto who can't control it? They're just constantly magnetic? I guess not.
Yeah. I don't know. I think, there'd be a few problems with that, I think. But I do like that. This is the thing, really. It would bring to light this whole new possibility space of like a real test of ingenuity, figuring out how you can pitch machines such that their opposite is also somehow useful. We're coming back to the tunneling plane thing. We need medical devices where like... dialysis machine, what's it doing? It's stripping poisons out of your blood. That's good. But we need to frame it in a different way such that the opposite is not just pumping you full of poison, or the opposite is, dispensing chemo or something. And then you need to make sure everyone on a dialysis machine also has cancer and that they're happy with unpredictable doses of chemo.
Which everyone would be, let's face it.
Maybe you could figure something out. I'm not a doctor.
I'm not a doctor, but I think giving cancer to people with kidney damage is a good idea. I was thinking that can you game the system in another way though? So, like, for example, you take someone who's already blind and you make a blinding machine.
Yes, this is exactly it. The reverse psychology.
It's like the blender. So it's like a thing which, like, if a normal person, normal in quotes, fully sighted person was go in and stand in it, they would be blinded by this incredibly bright light. You go and stand the blind person in until they can see again.
Yeah, because it might take a while. But
you've got to keep running it, and you got to make sure you don't accidentally blind them again.
That's the game. You need stuff that won't work when it's functioning quote-unquote normally, like, ho-ho, genie, this is what we wanted to be doing. Oh, it's not working, oh, boo-hoo, right? And then when the genie's like, ha-ha-ha, and now, welcome to the Bizarro-verse, and then you're like, oh, God, finally, it does a thing.
And I guess you could do... I don't know what else you could apply that to.
I have no
a thing which
idea.
breaks your arm, but it's already broken. I mean, that'd be quite painful. You've got to go through like 99,
Yeah.
99 further breakages before you get your arm back.
Well, eventually it fixes one fracture, but in the meantime it's produced like 98 more. So
Depends
that's
how
not...
exact it is, yeah.
No, you need things where, like, as you say, an already blind person would be completely unaffected. And even that's tricky because blindness is a spectrum.
Yes.
From like, full 20/20 vision or whatever through to zilch.
But no, it's perfect because if they're not already 100% blind...
Oh, we'll just turn them blind.
It turns them completely blind, and then it undoes that.
You got to have a lot of trust in the process, but yeah.
You do, yeah.
You know what? I can see that working. That's fine.
But it would be cool for like space missions, because like, hey guys, we're gonna go to Mars, and then you're like, whoop, just kidding, we're going to the center of the Earth. It's like, well, I guess this is fun too.
We were interested in doing either. The grant was conditional, so it's fine. Yeah. We're ready. Just call the geologists in, tell the astrophysicists to go home.
Everyone's gathered around the launch pad like 3, 2, 1, and it ignites and melts through the floor and it sinks down.
Yeah, well, all right, guys, we got a sinker. Initiate the reverse protocol. Yeah, that's fine. Just for every 100 space missions, you get one journey to the center of the Earth. That's not a problem. I like that. I think the real thing that's niggling at me, there's a couple. I know that probing the edges of these hypothetical scenarios is always a little dicey. Yeah. But I do have some questions. One of them is, how simple can the machines be that are affected? Like, would literal, like, simple machines, like, as invented by the ancient Greeks or whatever, levers, wheels, pulleys, like, what is the definition of a machine?
So you're saying, like, would the laws of physics be disrupted significantly?
I mean, on some level, that's always what's happening, right? Because we can picture a glitch, like a software glitch, like something's messed up in the code and it just cocks up every so often. We can picture that very easily. But if you're talking about like a plane or a car, I know they've got computers in them these days, but like, is my classic car from, the 40s immune to this because it doesn't have anything in it that's too complex? Surely not. So
yeah, that's true.
How simple do you go? And I'm saying if the wheels themselves and the levers and all the rest of it are affected, first of all, just what is the opposite of a seesaw? I don't know, but I'm curious. Like the opposite of a spirit level.
It's a saucy, isn't it?
There we go. You nailed it. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. But then that raises the question, a car is not one machine, right? It's a whole collection of them bundled together. If the wheels are going to go in reverse every so often, just spin the other way or whatever, then also your brakes are going to do the opposite every so often, and your windscreen wipers, and that's probably all of the components of a car, to be honest, but they're all going to do it individually. So if it's not synchronized, if it is synchronized, then every just 100 minutes or so, your car falls apart, just completely.
It just explodes.
Yeah, it's just, you're done, get a new one. But if it's not synchronized, then it just never actually works.
I guess it depends if you're following the sort of philosophical model of, the thing where it's like, is my father's boat still a boat? Still the same boat, even though I've replaced the hull, and I've redone the oars, and I've repaired the sail with the new sail, and swapping parts? Is it still the same boat?
I like this a lot because it suggests that your father is Odysseus.
Yes.
Was it Odysseus or Theseus? Or it was some ancient Greek celebrity.
Did a whole lot of sailing, so it could well be.
Probably him. Theseus was the Minotaur guy, right? I don't think he went in there with a boat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless it was a flooded, global warming, flooded labyrinth.
The habitat for Minotaurs, it's terrible. Anyway, we're going to do a GoFundMe.
He found the Minotaur, just drowned, could not swim. Quite sad.
But anyway, getting back to your father Odysseus.
Yes, my father Odysseus. It's like that concept, is it when they're all together, all these pieces of technology, do they function as one whole? And then it's the opposite of that function. But if you stripped the car for parts,
right,
and then tried to use the individual radio, then it would broadcast your voice nationwide.
Yeah, I think you'd probably have to go with like Harry Potter magic logic.
Yeah, as in it's completely illogical.
Yes, as in it kind of does what you would expect it to do, having not thought about it too much.
Yeah.
I seriously recommend. I don't know if I've talked about this. I don't think I've talked about this on air. Maybe I have. I don't know. I do remember one of our early episodes. I just nitpicked Harry Potter a load because that was fun.
I think that was episode 1.
It might have been. Back in our salad days. Anyway, there's an incredible Harry Potter fanfic. Have I mentioned this? Called Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality. Have we talked about this?
No.
I seriously recommend it. It is the only fanfic I've ever read, and therefore saying that it's the best fanfic I've ever read is possibly not the greatest accolade, but it is legitimately fantastic. Better than the original, I would say. You have to have read the original to truly appreciate it, but it's really great. It's basically, I'm not going to wax lyrical about it. The summary is, it's Harry Potter, but what if, instead of being like a poor abused child raised by generic rubbish muggles, he was actually raised as a scientific prodigy by like an Oxford physics professor.
Okay.
And so he's still, you know, the fated hero of this magical land. He gets summoned to Hogwarts, all the rest of it, except he, like, knows science.
And he just walks around going, what the hell is going on?
Oh, yeah, for many chapters. It's honestly fascinating.
How long is this book?
Oh, long. But the thing is, it's a whole series in itself. Like, you only need the one story. Like, he gets things done. The fight with Voldemort, let me tell you, happens a lot earlier.
Just guns, bang.
He thinks about these things. Like, he knows guns exist. Yeah, so it's great. And it makes the point, and that's why my mind went there, is that, like, some magical... It depends how much what the author has thought about, or the game designer or whatever. Some magical systems, it's like some kind of odd extension of the laws of physics, but they are thinking about, like, energy input and yada yada. Harry Potter magic, there's none of that. It's literally just... You know, I wave my wand, say the word, and it works like a magic trick on stage. So, assuming that your genie had that kind of philosophy, then I suppose you can get away with thinking of a car as a single device. But then if your genie is disinclined to be bothered about granular reality, then you can get really silly stuff. Like, I want a fire hose, like for firefighters, that just spews flame for like a minute.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Right?
It depends. Yeah, it depends on the temperament of your genie.
Very much so.
How fun and laid back he is. Like, can I have this? And he'd be like, yeah, go on. I don't know why you'd be asking for fire hoses. It's not a very nice one.
I like fire, but I figure it's more about whether this is like something has happened to the laws of physics, or like the genie is trying to punish you for your hubris, so it's going for like maximum irony, monkey's paw style. You know? Because like curtains, say. Curtains are not a machine, but indulge me.
Electronic curtains.
Like electric blinds are a thing, right? Like, you know, where you push a button instead of, you know, like, oh, you can get so tired hauling on those bits of string. We've made things easier, guys. Don't worry about it. You know, that device actually doing the opposite just means that like they go bzz up, or the opposite. Or do they, you know, turn transparent and just let all the light in every so often? Like, how magical is this scenario? Because you can't really get fire coming out of a water hose.
Yeah, because one of my things was in this realm where it's sort of like you've got a fossil fuel power station, and it's just like temporarily, instead of burning coal, it produces coal.
Oh, infinite energy.
It uses electricity and just, well, no, because it uses the electricity, I guess,
okay,
and just uses it to make more coal. and all of your normal, like, it depends if this is like a nationwide thing, like everything would break instantly. But anyway, if all your normal devices are like producing electricity, feeding it into the grid.
Oh yeah, every so often.
The grid uses it to make coal.
That would be so funny. I am picturing... I don't know why, because... I mean, okay, yeah, this doesn't work at all. It's got to be magical, whatever. Presumably the coal will be produced like within the furnace that is normally there to burn the coal. But I was picturing little lumps of coal going down the electricity wires, like a cartoon ostrich swallowing an orange, you know? Just that lump.
But yeah, it would be that sort of thing. I mean, like bank transfers. I mean, I guess this is less magical because this is just like, I guess this is a flaw that could feasibly happen. But like, instead of paying for something, you pay to receive it.
What?
So you just like, you might like you zap your credit card on the thing, and it's like, great, I'm paying for my £50 item, and instead it adds £50 to your bank balance.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and then actually, it's a kind of Russian roulette every time you do any kind of transaction, because it might reverse a really big one or a really tiny one.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm paying for a house and I get, £300,000. Or it's like, we're paying your wages. You don't get anything this month. We've actually taken it away.
Yeah, it's like, we're transferring, your loaded grandfather's inheritance. Oh, whoops, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, you get minus $800 million.
Yes. And people would be gaming the system immediately. Like all the weird things they do with the stock market and Bitcoin and all the rest of it. Like those clever IT, mathsy people would be out there figuring out odds and figuring out like with what frequency to make transactions of what size to try and, make it happen, make money just come out of nowhere. I like that. I also like the idea, low-tech, of books that just go blank every so often.
Okay, is that a machine? Like a Kindle?
Yes, let's say Kindle, because I was thinking books, but they're not machines at all. I'm just getting lost in a world of my own. Yeah.
Because I was like, one of these things I was thinking was like, oh, maybe Botox in medicine. It's like, it's not really a machine, but I do like the idea of it just like, sometimes you just get aged 20 years, but actually that does sort of already happen.
It kind of does. You do get botched stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember reading an article about like a Brazilian... Is it called is it a Brazilian wax is a thing? Is a Brazilian butt lift a thing, or did I just invent that? This is
no idea. Isn't that... It's a sport at the Olympics, isn't it?
Olympic butt lifting. It's very serious.
Are you lifting butts or lifting with your butt?
Lifting butts with your butt, presumably.
Yeah, there we go, yeah.
Yeah. But the point is that these implants like go wrong sometimes, and nobody likes that.
No.
But yeah, okay, let's say a Kindle, not a book. That's really boring though. That's just your Kindle runs out of battery like every so often. Yeah. Who cares?
But what would the opposite of it? Would it be it sucks knowledge out of your brain?
Oh, you just forget the last chapter you read.
Yeah.
That kind of happens anyway. I think we just get on with life. That's fine.
Maybe this is already happening on a subliminal scale.
God,
we don't realise it.
Things, it's conditional. Yeah, that could be happening. I don't know. It's a pain if you're cramming for a test, but otherwise it'd be kind of whatever. That's fine. I don't know why I started making this list. I was like, tables, stop supporting stuff. Tables, that well-known machine, right?
My new electric table.
And then I got to thinking about violins. Just start making tuba noises. Does a violin count as a machine? Probs not.
I think like a theremin counts
there
as a
we
machine.
go. Like but then like if a theremin started making weird noises, I'd be like, fair play, man. Like that's what it does anyway.
I like the idea though of stuff like record players. Instead of playing a record, it sucks all the noise out of the room. A bit like what was it called in Harry Potter?
Tom.
Deluminator or something.
Oh shoot! Okay, no, I thought you were going for a Pratchett reference.
No, I
can't remember what it's called, but yeah, that little lighter that Dumbledore flicks and it sucks the light out of street lamps.
Yeah, it's like that, but with sound.
Yeah.
What's the Pratchett reference?
There's a bell in the...
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I don't know what it's based on, but the university bell here in Bristol is called Old George, named after King George the whoever. The university bell for Unseen University, the College of Wizards, is called Old Tom, and it tolls sonorous silences that cut through the noise and bustle of the city, which is quite cool, I think.
So yeah, it'd be like that. That would be cool.
Yeah, I was just thinking a record player, but it like starts playing the B-side every so often.
Yeah, just like a little fragment in the middle of the song.
Yeah, just a bit. You get a remix every so often.
Or it starts playing it backwards.
Oh yeah, and then you can hear Satan.
Yes, like in that escape room we went to.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
Which we could not hear at all.
No, not at all. It was such a good idea, and it did not work.
And it was just like, it's like great.
Yeah, helpful. Thanks, Satan. Real useful. Well, look. Speaking of Satan, I had some ideas for things that would just be like annoying more than dangerous. So I put smoke alarms on here, and I don't know why, because that is dangerous, but. I guess really I was thinking of them going off more often, like detecting the absence of fire, which they already do every time you make toast. So they just wake you up more often. I don't know if there'd be a way, where they like just fail to detect fire, like if you're super unlucky. Maybe.
That would be pretty bad odds, but yeah.
Yeah, it's unlikely. And you just have more of them, presumably, on separate circuits. So you're fine. Smoke alarms? Yeah, fine. Automatic doors. You're just going to get more people walking into the glass. It makes for some funny GIFs, provided your security camera is still working as intended and not doing the opposite, which I guess would be broadcasting your security footage. Escalators and airport travelators. I want to see like businessmen rushing for their flight and then like, oh no, going backwards. Should have walked. You're lazy. I'm sorry. That's what you get. Should have taken the stairs. Yeah, microphones and cameras. We already talked about this. Like, are we more worried about them muting themselves occasionally? Or surprise unmuting themselves?
I think surprise unmuting, as there have been a few stories in the news where people should have been on mute and haven't. I think that is far more dangerous.
Yeah, that's true.
Because muting you accidentally, people are already, it's not even 1% of the time, it's 50% of the time they're muting.
Very good point.
People do not unmute themselves, so it's not going to make that much difference.
It's true. It's true.
Maybe this is an idea for a future episode, but I've just thought it'd be quite fun if 1% of the time this is happening, but another 1% of the time things are doing what they're supposed to, but to a ludicrous extent.
Oh.
So, like, you're on your travelator, and sometimes you're heading backwards, and sometimes it launches you at about 100 miles an hour forward, and everyone flies off the end.
It starts to become a question of just how unusable can we make machines before we just give up on the whole concept and just go back to walking with our own feet. A feet a machine? I don't know.
Yeah, is a biological organism a machine? Kind of.
Arguably, yeah.
There's like electrical signals and it moves of its own volition and yeah.
I don't even know what actually defines a machine at all.
What's the opposite of a human? What's the opposite function of a human?
That's a great question.
Oh god, I just had an awful image of somebody sucking a baby back up.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like...
What, on the assumption that childbirth is the function of a human?
Well, that kind of is, right?
It depends whose perspective you're looking at it from.
But from a biological perspective, the purpose of humans is to make more humans.
People are always adding a sense of volition to evolution, and I mean, first off, like, survival, right, is arguably...
So what? The opposite is just you die 1 in 100 hours.
Yeah, exactly. So, but also evolution doesn't really want stuff, right? Like, stuff just happens and pressures interact, and it goes the way it goes. I think the genie... You'd have to have a really intense conversation with the genie to determine what the purpose of everything is first. Humans most of all.
Maybe this would finally give us the answer as to what the purpose of life, the universe and everything actually is.
Yeah, and I like the idea...
Because we found out what the opposite is. Yeah,
and isn't it appropriate that should be dispensed by some malevolent genie sent to torment us? Andy, let's play a game.
Okay.
A game of... Biblio-phoney.
Yay, we've got a name for it. What is that, Adriano?
It's great. It's a game where we list for each other a series of things, and somewhere in there is a fake, and the other person has to identify it, and also, possibly more entertainingly, decide what the things are. In this case, they're book titles.
Books again. There were so many good book titles which we did not get to in our last edition of this.
Oh, man.
So I have been chomping at the bit to revisit this topic.
He has. It's been insufferable. But thankfully...
Yeah, just the constant gnashing sound. Awful.
I couldn't sleep, but the day has arrived. It's finally here. Let's get them out there.
Have we explained what this is enough? We've got to guess each other's which are the real ones. That's kind of it.
Yes, so I think the way we arrange it is one of us will read a sequence of book titles to the other. And the other will have to give a brief summary of what the book is about. And then, once they've been furnished with the actual, usually more more boring blurb of the actual books, they will have to identify the ones that we have just made up. And in this case, what numbers are we talking here, Andy? I think I've got...
I actually have 8, but 2 are fake.
Oh, spot on. Oh. Could not have gone better if we'd actually talked about it beforehand.
Have you got 8?
Yes, I do. 2 of them are fake.
Ah, parfait.
Do you want to do 8 altogether, or shall we do 4 and 4?
We could do 4 and 4.
Do 4 and 4?
Okay, the first one is Bomb-Proof Your Horse by Rick Pellicano and Lauren Tiarden.
Those are good names.
They are, aren't they?
Bomb-Proof Your Horse.
Yes.
That's not a misspelling of house.
No.
Okay, bomb-proof your horse. I want to say that horse is here being used as a slang term for motorcycle.
Okay, yeah.
And this is a hardcore survivalist / biker's manual into how to ensure that your favorite ride lasts through into the post-war apocalypse. You're going to want to Mad Max it, basically, after the bombs drop. And as it stands, your cool chopper or Harley Davidson or whatever, it's not gonna cut it. Here's what you need to do: a lot of metal plates you got to rivet on, a lot of human skulls need to be hanging off those handlebars, etc.
That sounds good. I'd read that book. I mean, not that I own a motorcycle or ever intend to get one, but
read the book.
Just might be fun.
Might change your mind.
Yeah, true. Okay. The next one is Living with Crazy Buttocks by Kaz Cook.
Yes.
Or possibly the intonation is Living with Crazy Buttocks. I don't know.
Oh, that changes the game somewhat. Okay. So Crazy Buttocks could be, just their university roommate, or the name of their imaginary friend from childhood, perhaps.
Right.
Yes, I like this one. Okay, no, my first thought was some kind of, like coping with cancer type dealio, but for a rare, a rare disease only recently diagnosed.
A rare condition called crazy buttocks.
Yes, but no, I prefer the idea that it's a really heartfelt, profound look into the life and psychology of someone who grew up with an imaginary friend called Crazy Buttocks.
So is it non-fiction or is it fiction?
I'm going to say it's non-fiction, but like told in that approachable, biographical style where it's almost like you're reading a story about someone's life.
Okay. It's like a sort of docudrama, but in book form.
Yeah, and maybe it's even from Crazy Buttocks' perspective.
He writes some of the chapters.
Yes, exactly. Every so often. They use a different font.
It's quite difficult for him to grasp the pencil, but he does it well.
Remarkably well.
I can't even see what he's writing. Okay, next one is called Hemorrhoids Attack with an exclamation mark by Ellen Farn.
Man, I'm wondering what Ellen Farn got called in high school that put this at the forefront of her mind. I wonder if it was Ellen Fart. It's possible. Hemorrhoids Attack. Is it possible that there's a galaxy or out there or a nebula or something called Hemera, and I just haven't heard of it? And perhaps hemorrhoid is the technical term for, the species that comes from there. And perhaps this is just an ill-advised translation of a book originally written in a different language, where hemorrhoids translates to something completely different. And they thought it was just a wholesome sci-fi tale, about globe-conquering aliens.
So you don't think it was that the aliens come down and, they're all fierce and all conquering, but we just laugh at them because they've got a funny name?
Well, don't spoil it.
Sorry, I'm skipping to the actual, I've forgotten the word for blurb now. Blurb. There we go.
Burble.
The actual burb.
I thought you were going to go a different direction. The aliens come down and attack, except War of the Worlds style or science style. It turns out they're deathly vulnerable to hemorrhoids, and so they're all just wiped out.
Wiped out. Good pun.
Thank you.
Okay, so the last one of this set is Reusing Old Graves by Douglas Davies and Alistair Shaw.
Old graves?
Yes.
Okay. That's just it's less interesting than you think. It's just a municipal manual on how to save space in, the competitive industry of burying folk. It's just a treatise on like the most efficient use you can make of a given plot of land and how deep you got to bury those suckers to be able to, yeah.
Yeah, with proper planning, you bury them 50 feet deep. You'll have enough space for ages.
Exactly. Yeah. It's it's not it's not thrilling reading, but it's fun. It's functional. It gets the job done.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to know what the actual synopses are, or would you like to read me some of yours?
No. Go on. Hit me with the blows before I forget what we're about.
The first one is quite long, so buckle in.
All right, I'm ready.
Every type of horse and pony, no matter how well trained, is at one time or another faced with objects or situations that are confusing, if not downright terrifying. As riders, we often simply just wait for this moment to happen, and the resulting frightening, out-of-control bolt, balk, wheel, buck. Oh, I've lost my train of thought. We tend to expect this sort of reaction and believe that it comes with the territory. But what we need to do instead, in order to avoid risking life and limb, is to train the horse to cope with these disturbances. In other words, we need to bomb-proof our horses. Sergeant Rick Pellicano of the Maryland National Capital Park Police knows only too well how important it is for horses to be absolutely safe. Bomb-proof, they've said it again, when confronted with unusual circumstances. For many years, he trained new mounted officers and their horses to withstand massive crowds, noise, chaos, and everything that is thrown at them, sometimes literally, in police work.
I'm a little disappointed to learn...
It is a little disappointing, isn't it?
Okay, all right, noted. Next.
Okay, living with crazy buttocks.
Yes,
you might like this one more.
All right, I'm ready.
It's hard to imagine life with schizophrenic buttocks. But this book paints a heartwarming tale of adversity and ultimately triumph. Living with Crazy Buttocks is the true story of Mary Ann O'Keefe, a New York socialite who leaves a world of 1930s cocktail parties to travel in the Native American heartland of the Western USA. It describes how she meets and falls in love with a man on the margins of his own society and brings fulfillment to both their lives through her selfless love. I don't really see what this got to do with schizophrenic buttocks, but there you go.
But I don't understand. Like, normally, when a book has a really weird title and then a normal blurb, they just make no reference to the title. Like The Men Who Stare at Goats or whatever. I have no idea what that's about. Isn't it a Western or something?
No, it is. Actually, that's a bad example. It's about men who stare at goats to try to make them explode.
Are you serious?
But, yeah.
Amazing.
I can't remember whether it's based on a true story or whether it's fiction.
I have to watch this film about exploding goats. The point is that they put the title right there in the first sentence. They talk about the schizophrenic buttocks and then just forget about them. It turns into something else, a romance.
Yeah, so I have no idea what happens with the schizophrenic buttocks. Maybe they're kind of sidelined early on. They're just there to get the hook.
This is a weird bluff for you to pull if you've written that, but I'm not discounting it entirely. All right, let's hear the next one.
Crafty fellow. Okay, hemorrhoids attack. It's just another day in suburban Boston for Detective Amanda Stiles. That is, until she gets a call from an anonymous source telling her where to find a gruesome murder of a person with particularly bad hemorrhoids. It looks to be a typical case, but then other victims start to be found with a similar affliction. As the bodies begin to pile up, Stiles must navigate Boston's criminal underworld to save everybody's ass. There you go.
Okay, that's good. That's my favourite blurb so far. So at the moment, I want to say that you wrote it just because I want to credit you with that.
Okay.
So let's see. Let's hear the fourth one.
And the last one, disappointingly, wasn't actually that far off. This book represents the results of an extensive survey carried out by the University of Nottingham, blah, 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 into public opinions on the reuse of graves. It will be of interest to a broad spectrum of those whose profession deals in any way with death, as well as to sociologists, historians, theologians, and others interested in the place of funeral memorialization. And yes, there we go.
All right, fair enough. Okay. See, that is a good fake to slip under the radar. Because it's very, straight and narrow, does what it says on the tin. But I'm going to stick with number 3, hemorrhoids attack.
It was hemorrhoids attack.
Yes, that's a good blurb, Andy.
I couldn't resist puns.
No, it's very good.
I had to put them in.
You cannot, it's true. That's very good. Okay, I still remember when I lost a Flim Flam film because, what was your thing called? It's about cricket. That's just not cricket.
No, that's what you thought it... Wait. No, what was it called?
Was that a
Out of Left Field.
Right, also full of puns. Communist baseball players.
That's right. You did get That's Just Not Cricket.
Got it.
You didn't get Out of Left Field.
There we go. I got a 0 in on those puns every time.
Yeah.
If you really want to fox me, you've got to find a selection of blurbs that all involve puns.
Yes. Okay, I'm ready for some punny titles of your own.
All right, let's see if you can find mine. So, we're going to start with How to Make Fires and Incinerate People. You like that? We're just getting started.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I found some quite good titles. I'm pretty pleased. Okay, How to Make Fires and Incinerate People. Sorry?
Am I coming up with a synopsis for this?
Oh, yeah, sorry. By Jermaine Foss. That's what I was going to say.
Okay. Jermaine Foss. Wow,
Mm-hmm.
that's a great title, Jermaine.
I'll let him know.
I'm guessing is it okay? It's a how-to guide on your friendly neighborhood arsonist. It's a it's like, did you ever hear of the Anarchist Cookbook?
Oh, yes.
Back in the early days of the internet, it was like a guide on how to make napalm in your kitchen and stuff like that.
Yes, and it was like, oh my god, people are sharing this and for free, and you don't have to go to
Yeah.
the library or anything.
So it's that kind of thing. It's for arsonists, aspiring arsonists.
Mm-hmm.
And it's it's quite dry in some cases, a bit like kindling. And it's just got lots of like chapters on the best fuels to use, how to get a fire going, how to get into buildings without people noticing you, and yeah, it's just full of lots of lovely tips from someone who's been in the trade a long time.
And lovely illustrations. Pictures of nice
Beautiful
fires.
illustrations. They've got a very distinct palette.
Yes.
It's a lot of burnt orange.
All right, solid. Okay, keep that one firmly in mind. Moving on. How to survive a garden gnome attack. Defend yourself when the lawn warriors strike, and they will. That's in brackets. By Chuck Sambuchino. Or Sambuchino, I'm not sure.
Sambuchino. I mean, this is so convoluted, it sounds like it has to be real, but then I'm like, so hang on. How to survive when garden gnomes attack, and then some other stuff.
How to survive a garden gnome attack, defend yourself when the lawn warriors strike, open parentheses, and they will, close parentheses. It's a whole blurb right there.
I think it actually isn't much to do with garden gnomes. It's actually just someone found the mad ramblings of a guy, and they just decided, hey, these seem fun, let's publish them with one of his ridiculous things that he said. And it's just like a collection of his life and his imaginary friends again, and all of these scenarios which he thinks he's got into. Maybe it's like a great guide for people who are into conspiracy theories, because there's something for everyone in there. He's confirmed basically every conspiracy theory in there. So yeah, I mean that's quite specific. What threat does he think that they are posing?
Yes. Well, perhaps we'll find out. All right. Very astute. Number 3. Now, this is kind of a response to avid listeners will remember the last time we played this game with books. Andy, what was it called? It was something to do with crafts with cats or something.
Oh, yeah, crafting with cat hair.
There we go. All right, listen up. Knitting with dog hair.
Okay.
Better, better a sweater from a dog you know and love than from a sheep you'll never meet, by Kendall Crolius.
Wow. That's a much better title. I feel that done. Now, is this a very clever bluff that you're like, it's so similar, it has to be true? Or is it wait, is that a bluff or a double bluff? Okay.
It's a seldom
synopsis.
seen quadruple bluff.
I mean, it's got to be the same thing, right? It's just, hey, guys, we don't want to wear disgusting things made out of smelly sheep, which is fair enough. It's like, we've got a dog right here. And it's just like, camera cuts to their like completely shaved dog. It's got no hair left because they've taken every inch they can, and they're just covered in this lovely, luxurious fleece.
So silky.
And the dog's shivering in the corner. So yeah, I mean, I guess if you wanted to add a twist to the end of the book, the dog could get his revenge for having all of his fur stolen and maul them to death. But I think it's probably another book by slightly strange people who just like wearing their pets.
Nice. Well, that's our 4.
Wait, was that 4?
Not at all. Not at all. It's a little bluff there. Just to keep you on your toes. All right, here we go. Number 4. You're gonna love this.
Yep.
Goblin-proofing one's chicken coop and other practical advice in our campaign against the Fairy Kingdom, by Reginald Bakeley.
Okay, so hang
Bit
on.
of a
So we've
theme
had
here.
we've arson, we've had gnomes attacking, we've got dogs,
Yes.
and now we've got goblins.
Correct.
All these mythical creatures. Okay. So again, quite a long, rambly title.
Some of them are. Maybe I shouldn't be reading out the bit after the colon. Maybe that's giving you too much info.
Yeah. Goblin-proofing your chicken coop.
Mm-hmm. One's chicken coop.
I mean, is it just by a person who's got confused between goblins and foxes? They're like...
Goblins, those things with the bushy tails and the snouts.
Yeah, someone goes to interview them after them. It's like, why have you written such a strange book? And they've gone, well, it's not strange. You see them all the time. They're always breaking into my chicken coop and they terrorise the place. Look, there's one now. It's like, that's a fox, sir. What?
Always getting into my bins. God, I hate them.
All these fairies.
My dog's been rolling in goblin poo again. The editor thinks it's a great work of satire.
The little puppet fellow on the television. What's he called? Buzzlebrish or something.
A topical reference for our foreign listeners.
Yeah, surely everyone knows Basil Brush.
Oh my god. I remember...
He's an international phenomenon.
Bodger and Badger and what was it, like Sooty the hand puppet? Mr. Punch.
Sooty's probably the most famous, right?
Yeah, I can't believe that we have such a history as a country of shoddy hand puppetry on television.
Hey, what do you mean shoddy? Bodger and Badger, I can't remember any of it, apart from there was a lot of potato.
There was a lot of thrown mashed potato.
We're a nation of simple pleasures.
It turns out, yeah. And domestic abuse. If Punch is anything to go by anyway.
That and Bodger and Badger, kind of.
Really?
I mean,
I guess it does.
They're quite violent, aren't they?
Maybe. Does it count as domestic abuse if it's your pet? Like, cats claw you, but you don't call a helpline the same way.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know. I don't know if it's less... It feels less dark. I don't want to say too much. All right. Well, anyway, look, Andy, there's your 4. What do you reckon?
Do I get to hear what they're actually... the actual synopsis?
No. That's stupid. Okay.
I know we haven't done this segment before, Adriano, so it is hard to remember.
It's the first time and it's overwhelming. All right. So going back to the start with How to Make Fires and Incinerate People by Jermaine Foss. So coming hot on the heels of Bridges Over Troubled Waters, Foss's highly successful first foray into the sordid history of civil engineering, comes this highly anticipated new volume, a sizzling collection of essays, anecdotes and interviews wrapped in quick-witted satire. Starting with the Great Fire of London, Foss takes us on a tour through the country's most deadly and yet most preventable fires. Villages, chemical plants, tower blocks, even entire cities. He reminds us that nowhere is truly safe. Complete with first-hand accounts from survivors and interviews with experts, including at least one self-confessed arsonist, this work will stand as one of the century's foremost works on mankind's most ancient friend and foe.
Hey, we got an arsonist.
We did get an arsonist in there, so there we go. You weren't far off.
Okay.
Let's see if you're right about the gnomes. This is How to Survive a Garden Gnome Attack, Defend Yourself when the Lawn Warriors Strike, and They Will, by Chuck Sambuchino, or Sambuchino. I don't know with this guy. The blurb is, there's a new threat in town, and it's only 12 inches tall. How to Survive a Garden Gnome Attack is the only comprehensive survival guide that will help you prevent, prepare for, and ward off an imminent home invasion by the common garden gnome. Once thought of as harmless yard decorations, evidence is mounting that these smiling lawn statues are poised and ready to wreak havoc. The danger is real, and it's here. Class 1 Gnome Slayer and Gnome Defense expert Chuck Sambuchino has developed a proven system. Assess, protect, defend, apply. For safeguarding property, possessions, and loved ones. Strategies include step-by-step instructions for gnome-proofing the average dwelling, recognizing and interpreting the signs of a gathering horde, and, in the event that a secured perimeter is breached, confronting and combating the attackers at close range.
Class 1 Gnome Slayer.
Right, not many people can put that on their CV.
I love the mental picture of him just going around people's gardens who've got garden gnomes just kicking their heads off. Another slain!
He's just putting like another notch on his sledgehammer.
Also, Class 1, is Class 1 the lowest or the highest level?
That's a great question. Maybe he's just overexcited.
He's actually a complete novice.
Yeah, he's like a white belt who just really jumped the gun and wrote a book.
Yeah. I mean, wow. I was thinking this has got to be fake, but that synopsis was so long. And that is a lot of effort if that was a fake. So if that is, bravo.
All right.
Okay, well.
We'll see whether I deserve your praise shortly. Now we have Knitting with Dog Hair. Learn to recycle Rover into beautiful garments and accessories. Stop it. As the authors teach...
It sounds like he's died.
Shush. Don't make it through. Learn to recycle Rover into beautiful garments and accessories as the authors teach you this wacky new spin on an old craft. Knitting with Dog Hair is the definitive guide to putting on the dog. In this tip-filled, easy-to-use book, the authors tell how to make Afghan or beret from your beagle, how to collect, clean and store your pooch's fur, how to modify your patterns to accommodate pet spun yarn, how to find experienced pet hair spinners, a guide to resources and suppliers. From mittens from a Malamute to caps from a collie, this illustrated guide is the creative answer to that vexing shedding problem. This fetching book is certain to be this year's best in show.
So one of the things it said was putting on the dog.
Yeah.
Is that an expression?
I think it might be.
I've never heard putting on the dog.
Well.
Okay, I think that's real just because crafting with cat hair exists, so
It does.
It's gotta be.
They'll be crafting with tortoise shells next week.
Yes. Crafting with tortoise hair.
All right.
It's quite hard.
First we've got to find them. What's your front runner at the moment?
It's still gnomes.
Okay. All right. Let's see if goblin proofing changes your mind.
Okay.
So, Goblin Proofing One's Chicken Coop and Other Practical Advice in Our Campaign Against the Fairy Kingdom by Reginald Bakeley. I almost mispronounced it as Against the Furry Kingdom, and it might be showing its true colours there. But here we go. Plagued by pixies, goaded by goblins, or bothered by gnomes. There's a little bit of cross-pollination here. Help is on the way. Help is here. This is the essential primer for banishing the dark fairy creatures that are lurking in the dark corners and crevices of your life. In this charming guide, Fairy Hunter not a Class 1 Fairy Hunter though, note. Fairy Hunter Reginald Bakeley offers practical instructions to clear your home and garden of goblins and banish them forever. In Goblin Proofing One's Chicken Coop, readers will discover the most surprising weapon to use when hunting gnomes, what absinthe drinking has to do with strawberry gardening, why a garden fumigator may come in handy on evenings at the pub, why a toy merchant, a butcher, and a Freemason are amongst your best allies in the fight against the Fae.
That was amazing. I love that one. Okay, right. I think one or the gnome one has to be fake. But both of them are brilliant, so you should be very proud.
Thank you so much.
I'm gonna go with goblins purely because it is shorter.
All right. I am sad to tell you that it is real, and I cannot claim it.
Oh.
I know, and you know what? Gnome attack also real.
Come
Yeah,
on!
I made up how to make fires and incinerate people.
But that was so ridiculous. I mean, that was a good one because I did not for a second believe that was not real.
Well,
I was like, surely some guy just loves talking about fire and being like, "You did this wrong.
Yeah,
you should have prevented that."
For all I know, something very similar may be out there. I did run a search for the title, which seemed almost too perfect. I did discover that How to Make Friends and Incinerate People is a book. It appears to be a young adult book about a supernatural high school where kids are discovering their superpowers. So.
I see.
No copyright violation there.
That was a good set of books. Okay,
all right.
My last 4.
Yeah, let's go. Bonus round. You're in for a treat this time, listeners.
Okay, first one. It kind of returns to a theme we had in our first series as well of books. It's called Noah Gets Naked with an exclamation mark by Zana Eve Chown.
Okay, Noah Gets Naked.
Yeah.
Now, there's a problem here. The problem is that the only Noah I can think of is the biblical Noah. And if it isn't the biblical Noah, it's immediately much less interesting. Yep. It could be about anyone getting naked for any reason. So I'm going to assume it is the biblical Noah. And this is either just a very disingenuously titled in-depth exploration of the story of Noah, or a radical reinterpretation of it that involves nudism and free love and generally more, happy-go-lucky sort of approach to everything. And I'm going with that one because I am picturing the dove alighting on the deck with the olive branch in its beak, but it's not an olive branch, it's a spliff, and that's a fun image, so... That's what I'm going
Noah
for.
was having a big old swingers party. 2 of every animal. Let's go.
Oh boy. Zoological swingers. That would be the boat to be if you were a zoophile.
Yeah, that's how you explain evolution in biblical terms.
Moving on. Hit me with another title.
Okay. The next title I'm not sure will be much better.
Mm-hmm.
American Bottom Archaeology.
Come on, man. You got an anal fixation this episode.
By Charles J. Barris.
Charles who? I need to know who to blame.
Sorry. I mean, his name even sounds like Barroth. Charles J. Barris. And James W. Porter.
Good lord. What was it? American bottom archaeology.
Yes.
God.
Oh dear.
Okay, I'm going to flip it. This is not about archaeology in the conventional sense. We're talking archaeology more of in the metaphorical sense of digging through historical records.
Okay.
You know the way, I forget the term for this, but there is apparently quite a tendency among historians and literature experts and everything that deals with like people who wrote stuff in the past. They will find historical figures of the same gender who wrote like impassioned love letters to each other over a period of years and be like, oh, look at them, they were best mates. What a friendship for the ages. You've heard of this phenomenon? Maybe perhaps you know the term for it.
I don't know the term for it.
I'm sure there's a term, like whitewashing or whatever. Maybe it's straight washing. I don't know. Anyway, the assumption that nobody could possibly be gay, back when it was illegal. So clearly they were just, best friends, just real good pals. This is, in response to that, it's like a re-examination of history to identify not just who was gay, but who was a bottom.
Yeah, maybe there's some examination of power bottoms and that sort of thing in there.
Absolutely,
as well.
That's a chapter at least.
Napoleon? You never know.
I don't make any assumptions, but maybe.
He was powerful.
He was. Definitely powerful. And yeah, possibly had the right temperament. I don't know.
Okay, right, yeah, that's a good shout. Okay, the next one is called Butterworth's Corporate Manslaughter Service by Gerard Fallin.
Nice. Butterworth's Corporate Manslaughter Service. I want it to be about a corporate service you can hire and they will commit manslaughter for you. I suspect it might be more like, it seems a little more realistic that it might be like a Better Call Saul scenario, like it's a dodgy lawyer that you call when your company has committed manslaughter, you're culpable in someone's accidental death, and they're the guys you call to get you off the hook.
Yeah, it's not like, it's like, hey, so you want us to murder this guy? No, I don't want you to murder him. I want you to manslaughter him.
Yeah, I'm not an animal. Come on. I need to do it by accident. Yeah. I mean, I guess feasibly, a good hitman makes it look like an accident, right? Yeah, the kind of hitman that makes a kill that is obviously a murder but then disappears without a trace. And then you have the even better hitman where people don't even realise it was a murder. But someone called Butterworth, I don't trust it. I don't think they got that level of professionalism. So I think instead they're the sleazy lawyer that you call, when your terrible health and safety practices have killed one of your valued employees.
Kill them with butter. Okay, and the last book in mine is called Grandpa John's Mystery Gong by Henry Williams.
Grandpa John. Now, he wasn't one of the grandpas in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, right?
There was Grandpa Joe. I don't actually remember the other
There was a second one, right? Because there were two pairs in that bed.
And he was just like, screw you, Grandpa, too. I don't care about you at
Right?
all.
Who gives a damn? It's this particular grandpa is coming with me. So, possibly Grandpa John was the stay-at-home. And this is the long-awaited sequel, presumably authorised by the Roald Dahl estate, in which, okay, maybe he didn't have a golden ticket, maybe he didn't, go on a magical chocolatey adventure, but, you know what, he had a mystery gong. And he's having his own adventures with Grandma Josephine. You don't know.
The adventure is quite sad. He just bangs the gong and she brings him dinner.
Well, she's in the bed, so that would be a miracle.
Oh, that's true. There's 4 of them, aren't there? I forgot
Yeah. I think it's the... Gosh, you know what? Did they arrange it men on one side, women on the other, or like couples to a side? I can't recall.
You'd think it would be couples, wouldn't you?
You'd think so, but it was a different time.
It might actually be... Maybe it's actually a very modern family setup where the 2 sets of grandparents split up and then they both coupled up with each other.
Oh, I see. Yes.
So the grandpas are together and the grandmas are together.
You know what? That's not too insane already, given the premise that I remembered. I'm pretty sure he's called Grandpa George, which does rather flummox me. I think it's Grandpa Joe and Grandma Josephine and Grandpa George and Grandma Georgina, which suggests that they were specifically pairing up with people who shared their given name.
Maybe Grandpa John is a secret grandpa they didn't discover. He pops out of the bed as well.
He's under the bed with his mystery gong.
I've been down here the whole time.
Now listen to my mystery gong. Yes, there we go. That's very good. Okay, let's hit some blurbs.
Okay. Noah Gets Naked Discover 20 curious tales from the Old Testament that you've never heard, and you'll never forget. Each story is illustrated and has a handy Bible reference to its source.
Oh, thank goodness.
Not in this book. So it's like, not in this book, : Noah's Ark, David and Goliath, the burning bush. In this book, : Noah's hangover, David and his hairy son, the 300 flaming foxes, and many more.
That... Oh, God, I mean, you being a heathen, an apostate, I can imagine you writing this vicious mockery, but, I don't know. Maybe someone else is writing it too. I'm glad it's about the biblical Noah. And the bit that is about not in this book, is that like, collect them all, like more in our series? Or is that just like, we didn't bother with these ones? If you came here for the burning bush, I'm sorry.
It's hard to... I think it's we didn't bother with the same old, same old.
Okay.
We're here for his hairy son.
Fair enough. David's hairy son, was it? Of David and Goliath.
Yeah, David and his hairy son. On to less interesting matters, unfortunately, because the title is amazing. American Bottom Archaeology. I don't even want to read it. Without doubt, the most ambitious archaeological undertaking to have been conducted in eastern North America since the WPA era. Don't know when that was. Yet, despite the enormous scale of the endeavour and the staggering volume of data recovered, blah blah blah. It's an archaeological dig in a place called Bottom.
Oh, come on. Well, look, I'll give you this. If you have written a blurb that you claim to be too bored to read in order to fake me out, then fair play to you, sir. I will say this. The only interesting thing about that blurb is that they refer to archaeology as an undertaking, and I believe that is literally true.
that is true. They're taking things from underneath.
Right?
That is a good point.
Let's move on.
Okay. Butterworth's Corporate Manslaughter Service. This new textbook provides guidance and analysis on the developing concept of corporate liability for killing. It's written in a format whereby it examines the two important aspects of corporate responsibility for killing. Firstly, it sets out to advise companies and public bodies on policies essential to reducing the risk of fatal accidents. Secondly, it guides lawyers on how to proceed with a case where corporate liability for killing is an issue.
They use the word killing a lot. Kind of like they're enjoying it.
I know.
Okay. It still doesn't read as something you'd written, to me. I don't know. That doesn't seem like your style.
Yeah, okay, my last one then. Grandpa John's Mystery Gong. Billy loves to bash things. Sticks, drums, railings,
Bishops.
Anything that makes a loud noise is on the menu, to the eternal frustration of his parents. So when Billy finds an enormous gong in his grandpa's attic, there's only one response he knows: hitting it with all his might. Billy is amazed to find himself transported back in time, and finds out the hard way that bashing things goes down poorly in the past.
I want to know about the time-traveling adventures of Billy the Basher. Okay, just run me through those titles one more time, because I've forgotten what the first one was.
So it was Noah Gets Naked, American Bottom Archaeology, Butterworth's Corporate Manslaughter Service, and Grandpa John's Mystery Gong.
Alright, I'm going with Grandpa John.
2 for 2.
Yes! Undefeated champion! That's not true. I've definitely been defeated in the past. But champion of this episode.
This is possibly the first time where you've got them all
I think
right.
it might be. Yes! New personal best. That's a good blurb. Oh, that's a great concept. You could write children's books easily.
Yeah. I just need to be able to draw, which I cannot at all.
Do they always illustrate their own?
Oh, that's true. Luckily, I do know someone who can draw.
There we go. That's all you need.
That's you, Adriana.
Oh, no. It's me. Incredible.
It's you.
I'd be willing to give this a go. Do you have an idea for where he goes?
I'm imagining he goes back to, he starts off, really far in the past and, works his way forward.
Okay, because if you go back early enough,
and
he
amasses, this train of, people chasing him.
Oh.
So there's Egyptians and Vikings and... Yeah, they're all following him.
They're not happy because he bashed the wrong stuff.
Yeah, he bashed them on the head of their horned helmet, and they're not happy about it.
I can see that. I can see that working very well. All right, listeners, chime in if you would buy this for your sprogs.
This episode's sponsored by Grandpa John's Mystery Gong on Kickstarter.
Yeah, we should go back and make that our sponsor. Okay, great. Well, listen, I've got another 4 for you. You ready?
I am more than ready.
All right. We begin with managing a dental practice the Genghis Khan way.
Okay. I mean, this just sounds like the worst dental practice in history. Because as most people know, Genghis Khan was famous for his brutal razings of towns, as well as being a good political leader in actual fact, but also he was quite brutal. He was known for sort of chopping people's heads off and sticking them on pikes, even kids and that sort of thing. So managing a dental practice that way, I guess you're just like, please fill in this feedback form. And then if they give you less than 4 stars, then you like chop their head off and put their head on a pike outside.
Which doubles as an advertisement for your business, because look how good their teeth look.
Because their teeth look amazing. So yeah, I guess it's just a book about a man's descent into brutal barbarism, but he just happens to be a dentist at the time.
All right. So it's like a true crime thing, or like an autobiography written from jail?
Maybe it's an autobiography. In fact, it could be that he starts conquering other dental practices.
Ooh, added them to his horde.
He invades them with his own staff of dentists, with the drills and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. On horses.
And, on horses. And he was famous. Yeah, they were famous for their archery skills on horseback, right? So what would they be doing on horseback? Firing? There's not much long-range dentistry, is there? Let's be honest.
I guess not, unless like laser dentistry becomes more of a thing.
Maybe I'm being too harsh on him. Maybe he's just performing dentistry from a horse. Okay, I'm going with that. He's performing dentistry on horseback. It's quite hard because he's got to bend down quite a long way. But anyway, there we go. The patient's on horses. Everyone's on horses.
Okay, I like it. That's good. Let's stick with that. Horseback dentistry. Okay, next up we have 66 Strudels. Oh, I didn't give you the authors, it doesn't matter, whatever. That was by Michael Young, if that makes a difference. This one is 66 Strudels, an adventure collection by Hans Bauberger.
Bauberger? That's 2 foods in one.
Is a bao... Oh, yeah, it's a...
Is it Thai or no?
It's some sort of Asian cuisine. There's little dumplings.
It's like a steamed bun,
Yes,
isn't
it is. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, there's a Pixar short named after it. It's not spelled that way. It's spelled B-A-U.
Yes.
I think that's B-A-U. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this wrong. I might be. I think it's Germanic, I guess. Hans, I don't know.
So, sorry, 66 strudels.
An adventure collection.
I mean, on a boring level, I imagine it's about 66 fun strudels to eat. But I want to say it's about the adventures of a family of 66 strudels, a tribe of strudels. And they come together to form this adventure collection, and they hit the town in Berlin. They're, going bar to bar, just having a great old time, drinking lots of German beer. And I don't want it to be too dark, because you could easily have it where people start eating the strudel, and I don't want that at all. Mm-hmm. It's a nice, jolly romp through Berlin, and it's just lovely.
All right. Sounds wholesome.
Yeah.
All right. That's good. Let's see what you make of the next one. This one is called Flatland, A Romance of Many Dimensions by Edwin A. Abbott.
Oh. It's a bit of an oxymoron in that, isn't there? Flatland. I mean, I imagine it. Do I want to be logical about this? Okay, I actually think I actually think it's probably about flat earthers and like their weird world. Ooh. But maybe it's actually about a guy who like gets absorbed into some sort of 2-dimensional world. Mm-hmm. And like, I don't know how you would describe that in book form. It's like so abstract. So maybe it's just like this really weird book, like trying to describe a 2-dimensional universe to a 3D audience. And it just doesn't really work. But he had a good concept, but it just poorly executed, to be honest.
Okay, so we've got
that's one of the reviews on the back, actually.
Yeah, the reviews. It's like 2 stars. There's an idea in there, but not good. Read something else.
That's the best he could find in terms of reviews.
Nice. He had to put something on there. The publisher was adamant. They got space to fill. All right, good job. Finally, we have. Okay. If I read the.
Is that fine? Hang on. How many have we had?
We've had 3.
Dentistry. Oh yeah, Dentistry Strudel in that one. Yeah.
This one is called. If I read the bit after the colon, it very much does tell you what it's about. But I've already been doing that, so whatever. Maybe next time I'll omit the subtitles until we get to the blurb section. This one is called Manifold Destiny: The One, the Only Guide to Cooking on Your Car Engine by Chris Maynard.
Okay. Well, this one doesn't leave much room for doubt. It's about cooking on your car. I'm guessing it's like you see things where it's like it's so hot out that you can cook an egg on your car bonnet. So I guess it's just about, like, hey, we did that once and that was fun. Let's try and cook a whole meal. Like, instead of, like, who needs to buy a barbecue? Just drive your car through your fence and you can have a barbecue without any fuel. Think of the savings. And it's just like, you know, making a full fried breakfast, or like, maybe he starts off with the simple stuff, but then he goes into really like haute cuisine. Like, he's making a sort of
it's all souffles and
like seagrass foam, and like all sorts of stuff, but on this like beat up old Ford Mustang.
It's a good image. He's got his chef's hat, but also his, God, what do people who drive cars wear?
His driving gloves.
Yes, exactly. There we are. Driving gloves, driving shoes, driving goggles, driving scarf. Anyway. All right, brilliant. Let's hear some gloves.
Absolutely drenched in sweat because he's wearing all this stuff.
Oh, yeah, God. The toque is limp and sodden. Okay.
Okay, hit me with some synopses.
So, managing a dental practice the Genghis Khan way. The parallel aims of a dental practice are to deliver excellent patient care through highly trained and motivated employees and to maximize income and profit. Achieving these aims as a practice manager demands a clear vision, sound preparation, planning and marshalling of resources, broad business knowledge, an understanding of a rapidly changing world, and above all, wise judgment.
Dismemberment.
So why Genghis Khan? Although some in the West see him in negative terms, the Mongol leader created one of the world's greatest empires. His hugely successful strategies included intelligence gathering, understanding his rivals' motivations, being quick to learn and adopt new technologies and ideas, and successful people management, and elocution and oratory. Genghis Khan is one of history's most charismatic and dynamic leaders, and you will need all his skill, strength, and tenacity to succeed in both dentistry and business.
What an amazing fusion. I mean, I have learnt a bit about Genghis Khan, and I don't doubt his empire was impressive, and was surprisingly liberal. But what quite how it is relevant to dentistry, I don't know.
I don't know. It
feels a bit forced.
Well, let's see what you make of the next one. Which way are you leaning on that one, real or fake?
I think that's probably real.
Okay.
To be honest, like. Yeah, but I don't think it doesn't sound like something you'd write.
Fair enough. All right, let's see what we make of this one. 66 Strudels, an adventure collection by Hans Barberger. Are you ready for a new adventure? Do you enter the gingerbread house? Should you accept the Snow Queen's fudge? Will you be invited...
Oh, it is exciting.
Yeah, right? Will you be invited to the Ogre King's feast? Or will you wind up as dessert? You are the hero of the story in this collection of deliciously treat-themed interactive tales. Choose your own adventure where every decision you make can lead you closer to a delectable happy ending or a hard-to-swallow defeat.
Ooh. There's some good imagery in there. I like that one.
Sounds toasty.
Although his name is Hans, and I think, ooh, did you just go, I need a German name? What's the most German name? Hans.
Well, that isn't
there we
Fritz.
Go. Moving on. Hans Bauberger, that sounds German, doesn't it?
All right, playing the psychological game with the author names, I like it. Strong. I'm going to pay more attention to those next time. Let's see what you make of it. This next author is Edwin A. Abbott, if that makes a difference. Okay. This is Flatland, A Romance of Many Dimensions.
Uh-huh.
This masterpiece of science and mathematical fiction is a delightfully unique and highly entertaining satire that has charmed readers for more than 100 years. It describes the journeys of A. Square, a mathematician and resident of the two-dimensional... That's a name, by the way. That's like A, the initial, Square with a capital S.
Ah, I see.
A mathematician and resident of the two-dimensional Flatland. So you were bang on about entering a weird two-dimensional world. Yeah.
Huh.
Where... yeah, this is the great bit. This is where you can tell it's over 100 years old. A mathematician and resident of the two-dimensional Flatland, where women, thin, straight lines, are the lowliest of shapes.
Ah, great.
And where men may have any number of sides depending on their social status.
Oh, brilliant.
Through strange occurrences that bring him into contact with a host of geometric forms, Square has adventures in Spaceland, 3 dimensions, Lineland, 1 dimension, and Pointland, no dimensions, and ultimately entertains thoughts of visiting a land of 4 dimensions, a revolutionary idea for which he has returned to his 2-dimensional world.
And thank goodness he never has to deal with pesky women. I mean, gosh, it's popular for 100 years. Is it still popular?
I can't tell you that.
Huh. Yeah, because obviously men are multifaceted and have many dimensions, whereas women only have one.
I mean, to be fair, maybe he's, calling out the glass ceiling, because he says the many sides are depending on their social status. So maybe this is like society's grinding them down, and he's making a commentary. I don't know, I don't want to judge.
Well, I will never read it, so...
So judge away.
We will never know. Okay, cool. What's your last one?
Finally, we have Manifold Destiny, the one, the only guide to cooking on your car engine by Chris Maynard. Giving new meaning to the term fast food. Rest stop grade F meat patty? Nah. Nuggets of reconstituted poultry bits? Pass. Deep fried fish discus? No, really. Thanks all the same. It's time to bid farewell to the roadside meal as you know it. Nearly 20 years ago, Chris Maynard and Bill Scheller opened the world's eyes to the beauty of car engine gastronomy in the original Manifold Destiny. And now that another generation of both drivers and eaters has emerged, the cult classic is due for an overhaul.
This is a sequel.
Apparently so, or a new edition, perhaps. In this
Wow.
shiny, spanking new edition, there we go. Learn how to make s'mores in your Scion, poach fish in your Pontiac, even bust out a gourmet snack from under the hood of your Escalade. With step-by-step diagrams, crowd-pleasing recipes, and thorough instructions, now you can turn your car into a kitchen without ever crossing any golden arches. Hilarious, bizarre, and ultimately, seriously, useful, Manifold Destiny is and always will be an unparalleled original. So slap a ham steak under the hood of your car, hit the gas, and drive until you reach Delicious, which is in approximately 50 miles, depending on traffic.
Wow. Okay. I mean, God, if that's real, then people have got a lot of time on their hands, haven't they?
Mm-hmm. And diverse hobbies.
They are definitely the guys who, like, had they been born today, would have made that into a YouTube channel.
Oh.
They would not have got as far as a book.
For all we know, maybe it is a YouTube channel based on the book now.
Could well be, yeah.
Like an epic mealtime type thing.
That is a contender. But what was the second one again? Oh, the Bao. Hans Bauberger.
You know, like Hans Bauberger.
Is that too tempting a target? I mean, it could just be a guy who was like, I'm going to use a fake name to make this even more ridiculous. Or is it that you just chose the most German name? I don't know. The most German food-sounding name. Okay, I'm going with it. 66 strudels is fake.
Alright, you're bang on. And that is exactly what I did. I googled German names. And I found Bauberger. Yes. Very good.
You couldn't think of another German name.
I just liked it too much. I'm sorry. You can't resist your puns. I couldn't resist a name with burger in it. I didn't even realise about Bao.
But and also, I think it wasn't even Bauberger.
It was
Hans
Hans that got
first
you.
tipped me up.
All right.
Because I was like, if I had to think of another German name, it would take me a while.
Yeah. No, I'd think of Fritz, and then that's kind of
Or
it.
like Greta.
Maybe. Yeah.
Is Fritz even an actual German name, or is that just a sort of insult?
Oh god, maybe it is like limey.
Yeah.
God, I don't even know. There we are, my hubris. I put too little effort into the author name, and that's what caught me out.
That's what tripped you up.
I will know.
That was a
next
good
time.
one, though. I enjoyed that.
Yeah? Alright, thank you.
Amazing. Well, we've all learnt something.
I think we've learned a lot.
We've learnt a lot about American bottom archaeology.
Mm-hmm.
Although, actually, we haven't learned much about that because I couldn't even be bothered to read the synopsis.
We've learned that bottom is a place in America, which I would make fun of if Britain weren't full of ridiculous places.
Someone I know lives in a place called Happy Bottom.
Oh, that's fun.
So,
Nice.
yeah.
Well, that sounds delightful. Quaint. I mean, there's a London tube station called Cockfosters.
Yes, and that's fine.
It's absolutely fine. Yeah, and there's announcements about it. It just is what it is. So, what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
I'm going to add
who
all
knows,
these books to my
maybe-
Christmas list is what I'm going to do. I'm going to learn how to manage a dental practice the Genghis Khan way. Because that is a real thing you can do.
I mean, why did he think that was a good... I assume it was a guy. Was it a guy?
Michael Young, so presumably.
Yes. Why did he think that was a good idea?
I love the idea of a business... like a businessman TM, right? Like, probably sleeps in his suit. Just like with one of those 80s flip open like mobile phones, just really he heard about Genghis Khan and was like, yeah, that's what I'm like. I'm like a Mongol warlord in my business dealings. Well, I manage my dental practice. I'm going to write a book about it, about how you need to be like a Mongol warlord to manage a dental practice. Genius. I can now see it was published in 2010, and so actually, I hate it a lot more because I feel like somehow if it had been published in the 70s or 80s, I would have forgiven it a lot more. But that was only 10 years ago, and I don't know. Like, somehow I would want it to be a bit more woke.
Yeah, I mean, like, I can't imagine a woman writing that book. Like,
No.
I'm going to tell people how to manage dental practice. Who are my icons? Yes, Genghis Khan. How relevant to dentistry and how relevant to my life.
Absolutely.
Only a deluded, I imagine quite old, ridiculous man would do that. But anyway.
Yeah, we are making some assumptions here, but he's not painting a great picture.
No. Oh, well, I'm sure we will return at some point to what was it called?
A biblio-phoney?
Biblio-phoney.
Biblio-phoney. It's like a cacophony of books.
Yes. Is that what? Yes, that's why it's called that, sort of.
Yeah.
But also phony.
Exactly.
Yes. Oh, we're so clever.
Anyway. Andy.
For more clever conversations, tune in next time to Hypotheticals Podcast. That was the Hypotheticals Podcast. Adriano, where can people find us online?
We're all over the place, Andy.
Oh, we're everywhere.
That's right. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Just search for Hypotheticals. That is Hypotheticals, the weird way we spell it, but without the R.
Yes, and if you would like to leave us a rating on a podcast app of your choice, be that Acast, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, whatever they may be, may take some digging, but if you could leave us a 5-star rating, it would mean that we would get more than at least 5 listeners.
We would love you so much. And please, why not tell a friend who might enjoy listening to our dulcet tones. And we will see you next time.
Bye!
I've never had blancmange. I confuse it with, I think it's called bouillabaisse, which is the fish-based dish that Fleur de la Cour asks the Gryffindor table for in the 4th Harry Potter book.
I was imagining a fish jelly, and that wasn't very nice.
It might be, for all I know. I'm going to look it up. What is, if I can spell it, bouillabaisse. Oh my god. Do you know what the French word for kettle is?
No.
I'm going to say it in a way that would make French people angry if they could hear me. Bouilloire, I think. Bouilloire. It's spelled Bouilloire, I believe. Yeah, refers to kettle. Huh. And, I mean, people say squirrel is a difficult word, but I really struggled with bouilloire.
Bouilloire. Yeah.
Bouilloire.
I can't do the R thing, so I can't speak most French.
That is a problem. You've got to avoid all the R words.
Yeah. It adds difficulty.
Okay, bouillabaisse is not a jelly. It is a fishy broth. And blancmange, you're telling me, contains no fish at all.
I don't believe so, unless you make it wrong.
Okay. Oh, yeah, there we go. It's literally just interesting.